Every Halloween, as the world puts on masks, some people reveal their darkest secrets. But for some, the line between a playful scare and genuine terror gets blurred, and the night takes a turn into something far more sinister. Tonight, we dive into 3 true stories that prove some nightmares are real. So, find a comfortable spot, turn off the lights, and let me take you closer to moments you never knew you were almost a victim. A time you walked through the open mouth of the dark monsters, but luckily enough for you, you weren't on the menu and listened closely, because the strange, dark, and mysterious might just be calling for you next. While liking this video and subscribing to our channel, remember these are the real masks of Halloween. Our first story takes us to Willow Creek, a small close-knit town nestled among rolling hills and golden fields. Life here moves at a gentle pace, and everyone knows each other by name. The town is the kind of place where secrets are rare, and the biggest excitement is the annual Halloween celebration. Every October, Willow Creek transforms. Porches glow with jack-o'-lanterns, streets are lined with hay bales and scarecrows, and the air is filled with the scent of wood smoke and fallen leaves. Halloween isn't just a holiday here. It's the highlight of the year, a tradition that brings the whole community together. In 2008, 17-year-old Ethan Hayes was especially excited. He'd spent weeks perfecting his scarecrow costume, determined to win the contest at the legendary Miller Farm Party. For Ethan and his friends, this was the event they'd looked forward to all year. A night of freedom, laughter, and memories. Dressed in his homemade costume, Ethan left home just after sunset, promising his parents he'd be back by curfew. He waved goodbye, his straw hat tilted at a jaunty angle, not knowing it would be the last time his family saw him. The Miller farm was alive with music, laughter, and the warm glow of a roaring bonfire. Teenagers in costumes danced under strings of orange lights, their faces painted and spirits high. The air buzzed with excitement and the promise of mischief. Ethan mingled easily, joining in games and sharing jokes with friends. He was seen laughing, his scarecrow mask pushed up on his head, his eyes bright with anticipation. By all accounts, he was in good spirits, enjoying every moment of the night. Around 10:30 p.m., Ethan told his friend Mark he needed some air. The party was getting loud, and the cool night breeze beckoned. He wandered toward the cornfield at the edge of the property, the tall stalks swaying in the wind, their shadows long and eerie under the moonlight. Mark, caught up in conversation and the chaos of the party, barely registered Ethan's departure. He assumed Ethan would be back in a few minutes, as he always was. But, as midnight approached and the party began to wind down, Ethan was nowhere to be found. Friends called his name, searching the barn, the fields, and the dark corners of the property, but there was no sign of him. Mark grew anxious, retracing Ethan's steps to the edge of the cornfield. He called out, his voice echoing in the darkness, but only the rustle of cornstalks answered him. No one had seen Ethan since he slipped away from the party. Panic set in. Friends grabbed flashlights and plunged into the maze of tall stalks, their beams slicing through the darkness. They called Ethan's name, their voices growing more desperate as the minutes ticked by. But the night swallowed every sound. After nearly an hour of fruitless searching, they alerted Mr. Miller, the farm's owner. He wasted no time, dialing the sheriff with trembling hands, his face pale with worry. By 2 a.m., the quiet farm was transformed. Police cars lined the driveway, their lights flashing red and blue against the night. Volunteers and officers fanned out across the fields and into the woods, calling Ethan's name, searching every inch of ground. The sun rose on chaos and heartbreak. Search teams combed the fields, worried parents gathered in clusters, and the entire town seemed to hold its breath, hoping for good news that never came. K-9 units picked up Ethan's scent, leading them to a dilapidated fence at the edge of the woods. But there, the trail abruptly ended, as if Ethan had simply vanished into thin air. It was as if the earth had swallowed him whole. Days passed and hope began to fade. The cornfield, once a place of laughter and games, now felt haunted by the mystery. The only clue left behind was a single piece of straw, caught on the old wooden fence, fluttering in the morning breeze. Then, searchers found Ethan's scarecrow mask lying face up in the woods, its painted smile twisted and grotesque in the pale morning light. There were no signs of a struggle, no footprints, nothing to explain what had happened. The mask looked as if it had been carefully placed, not dropped or discarded in haste. It was a chilling detail that haunted everyone who saw it. The search continued for weeks, with volunteers combing the woods, fields, and even nearby streams. But nothing else was ever found. The town was left with more questions than answers. Rumors swirled through Willow Creek. Some whispered that Ethan had run away, unable to face some secret burden. Others suspected foul play, pointing to a heated argument at the party that night. But every lead, every theory, eventually went cold. The Miller farm never hosted another Halloween party. The laughter and music that once filled the air were replaced by silence and unease. The cornfield became a place of whispered warnings, a spot teenagers dared each other to visit after dark, but few ever did. Its rows of corn seemed to hold secrets that no one wanted to uncover. Ethan's parents kept their porch light burning every night, a silent beacon of hope. They waited by the window, watching the road, praying for their son's return, refusing to give up even as the years slipped by. The scarecrow mask, once a symbol of fun and creativity, now sits in an evidence box at the sheriff's office, a silent, unsettling reminder of the night a boy disappeared without a trace. Every Halloween, as new costumes parade through the streets, the older residents of Willow Creek remember. They watch from their windows, recalling the night when, among all the masks and laughter, a real monster may have been hiding in plain sight. To this day, the mystery of Ethan Hayes lingers in Willow Creek. He walked into the darkness that Halloween night and was never seen again, leaving behind only questions and a town forever changed. Our second story takes us to Briar Lane, a quiet suburb haunted by the chilling legend of Blackwood Manor. For decades, the house at the end of the lane stood as a silent warning, its windows like dark eyes watching over the neighborhood. Parents whispered warnings, and children dared each other to run past its iron gates, but few ever ventured close after sunset. On Halloween night, 1996, 4 friends, Mike, Josh, Sarah, and Chloe, gathered at the edge of the property, their arms full of candy, and their hearts pounding with excitement and fear. The air was thick with anticipation as they dared each other to do what no one else in the neighborhood would, enter the abandoned house and prove their bravery once and for all. The manor was a decaying Victorian, infamous for stories of vanished families, strange lights flickering in the windows, and rumors of sinister experiments conducted by its last owner, a reclusive doctor whose name had faded into legend. The house seemed to breathe with secrets, its walls heavy with the weight of untold stories. The kids, too old for trick-or-treating but not for dares, slipped through a rusted fence, their laughter fading as they crept toward the cellar door. The night was cold, and every step felt like a challenge to the darkness itself. They found the entrance half hidden by weeds and pried it open, hearts racing. The basement was a nightmare of cobwebs, shadows, and forgotten relics. Old trunks, broken chairs, and shattered glass littered the floor. The air was thick with dust and the faint metallic scent of something long decayed. Every sound echoed, making the space feel even more haunted. To break the tension, Mike proposed a game of escalating dares. Each challenge would take them deeper into the house, testing their courage and their friendship. The others agreed, eager to prove themselves but unable to shake the feeling that they were being watched. Each friend braved a corner of the basement in the dark, their flashlights trembling in their hands. Then, Josh, emboldened by the game, crept upstairs and returned, with a cracked photo frame, its glass smeared with dust. Inside was a faded photograph of a family none of them recognized, their faces blurred by time. Sarah and Chloe dared to the second floor, returned pale, whispering about cold air and distant voices. They spoke of footsteps echoing above them and a sudden, icy draft that seemed to pass right through their bones. Their fear was contagious, and the group huddled closer together. Finally, it was Mike's turn. He was dared to enter the sub-basement, the so-called doctor's lab. The others hesitated, warning him that the stories about the lab were the most terrifying of all, but Mike just grinned, determined to prove his bravery. Mike took the flashlight, his hand steady, and stepped inside, pulling the heavy door closed behind him with a dramatic flourish. The sound of the door slamming echoed through the house, and then, silence. The others waited, listening for any sign of movement. Minutes passed. The others called his name, their voices growing more frantic with each unanswered shout. The silence pressed in, thick and suffocating, broken only by the sound of their own breathing. The door wouldn't budge, as if locked from within. They pushed, pulled, and banged on the wood, but it held firm, unmoved by their desperation. Panic set in. They screamed, pulled, searched for another way in. Nothing. The house seemed to swallow their cries, the darkness growing deeper with every passing second. Desperate, they ran for help, stumbling through the overgrown yard and into the street, their hearts pounding with terror and guilt. Police and firefighters arrived, battering down the door with axes and crowbars. The neighborhood gathered, drawn by the commotion and the flashing lights, as rumors spread like wildfire. The room was empty, no exits, no windows, just Mike's flashlight on the floor, its beam pointed at a blank wall. Mike was gone, as if he had vanished into thin air. Investigators scoured the manor, searching for hidden passages, secret doors, or any clue that could explain Mike's disappearance, but the house yielded no answers, only more questions. The three friends' story never changed. Mike entered the room, and he never came out. Their lives were forever marked by that night, haunted by memories and the guilt of a dare gone wrong. The legend of Blackwood Manor grew darker that night, and the question remains, what happened to Mike in the doctor's lab? Some say his spirit still lingers, waiting for someone brave, or foolish, enough to return and uncover the truth. Our final story unfolds in suburban Minnesota, at the Peterson family's annual Halloween party. The Petersons were known for their elaborate Halloween decorations and their welcoming spirit, making their home the go-to spot for Halloween festivities in the neighborhood. The house was filled with laughter, costumes, and the warmth of family and friends. Children ran around in their spooky outfits, while adults mingled and shared stories over cups of hot cider. But as the night wore on, a silent figure appeared. A man in a plain white mask and black jumpsuit. He stood out, not just because of his eerie costume, but because of his unsettling silence. He drifted from room to room, never speaking, never eating, just watching. His presence was both intriguing and unnerving, casting a shadow over the otherwise joyous celebration. Laura, the hostess, assumed he was a guest she didn't know. After all, the Petersons had invited many people, and it was easy to lose track of everyone. So did her husband, David. They both thought he might be a friend of a friend, someone who had come along for the fun. The children, less polite, asked who he was. He never answered. Instead, he simply stared at them, his silence more telling than any words could be. As the party thinned, Laura realized she didn't know the man, and neither did anyone else. The realization sent a chill down her spine. The festive mood vanished, replaced by dread. Guests began to whisper among themselves, their eyes darting towards the mysterious figure. David confronted the masked figure, demanding he leave. His voice was firm, but there was an edge of fear in it. Suddenly, the man bolted upstairs, toward the bedrooms where Emily and Ben were playing. Panic set in as parents rushed to protect their children. Parents raced after him, finding the playroom window wide open, curtains billowing in the cold night. The masked man had vanished into the darkness. The children were safe but terrified. The man was gone. Their innocent night of fun had turned into a nightmare. Police arrived, but the intruder had vanished without a trace. They searched the house and the surrounding area, but there was no sign of him. Emily and Ben described how the masked man had entered, pointed at them, and stood in silence before escaping. Their descriptions were vivid, but offered no clues to his identity. The Petersons sold their home within a year, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. The memory of that night haunted them, a constant reminder of the unknown. The man in the white mask was never identified, and his intentions remain a chilling mystery. Who was he? What did he want? These questions lingered, unanswered. For the Petersons, Halloween became a reminder that sometimes the real monsters walk among us, hidden in plain sight. The masked guest had left an indelible mark on their lives, a ghostly presence that would never truly fade away. These stories remind us that the scariest monsters are often the ones we never see coming. On a night of masks and make-believe, Ethan, Mike, and the Petersons faced real darkness. The unresolved questions haunt us. What happened in those woods, in that locked room? Who was the man in the mask? Sometimes, the most terrifying mysteries are the ones that remain unsolved. Stay safe this Halloween, and remember, not every mask comes off.